Welcome, guys, to the first episode of the No Items podcast. I'm your host, JPlay. Today, we have a guest with us, Banana Boy, who is a Smash YouTuber with over 100,000 subscribers at this point now.
About 130,000.
130,000. So it's just kind of, small number. He might know what he's doing and what he's talking about. Makes lots of instructional Smash videos. He's also been PR multiple seasons in Utah. So lots of great rankings, a lot of great experience, a lot of great insights to share. So
glad to be here.
Yeah. So today, kind of talking about, I just kind of wanted to kind of do a reflection on the past 3 years of Ultimate, because it's coming up on the anniversary of Ultimate in December, 3 years. And the game has transitioned quite a bit from what it used to be to where it is now. And I think a lot of that has to do with COVID, quarantine, those kind of things. Just because what I've seen is the game started out super aggressive, and you watch sets like MKLeo versus Tweak at Evo, and it was just constant back and forth, to now it's a much more safe moves, safe spacing, tempo. It has really evolved, and maybe that's due to online era of where people relied more on camping because of lag, delay, all those kind of things.
Yeah, because of online, it's a lot better on camp, or it's a lot better to camp online, because it's a lot being aggressive. It requires more precision or whatever, and so it's harder to do that online when there's more lag and you can't be frame perfect with anything. You're probably gonna mess stuff up at least a little bit. So camping is really good online, and so you'll see lots of players excel with camping strategies online, like Sonic's or Aaron with his Steve, players like that. But I think as we transition more into offline tournaments, we're probably going to see a little bit more of that aggressive play, a little bit more. Players like MKLeo, he's probably going to start doing a little bit better. He didn't do too well online, but that doesn't mean he's a bad player by any means.
Who did do well online? Honestly, there is people always say Wi-Fi characters, but it's just kind of true. They're easier to play on Wi-Fi. Playing characters like Peach can be super difficult online, just because their combos, they're not frame perfect, but they do require precise inputs.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then tons of the top players, they're really aggressive, I'd say. And I'm sure we're going to see them a lot more once offline tournaments are back.
Yeah, for sure. And so do you think it's starting to get back, vaccine is out, tournaments are happening again, the meta has shifted some, and so do you think we'll see people try to continue forward with this meta of kind of more of a bait and punish, patience, safe spacing, all this kind of things, or do you think it's going to revert back to the very aggressive kind of game, kind of a lot faster, not like Melee, but just back to that aggressive play style? Or do you think it's going to be some kind of weird mixture of both?
That's a good question. So I think it all just depends on the player mostly, for the most part. But then a lot of players from online, they seem to be in the spotlight right now. So it'll be interesting to see how they do offline. We have a lot more campy players now, and so we're gonna see they're gonna be entering offline tournaments. So it's gonna be really interesting to see if they continue to excel, or if maybe their camping won't do as well offline. People will be better at dealing with it. So I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see for the most part.
No, I totally agree. And just with that, that transition to, you're seeing a lot of characters that were so prominent in the beginning, and a lot of players playing these characters that were so prominent that I've kind of either died down or just don't exist anymore in the meta. The first character that comes to mind that I think of is Inkling. You see very few Inklings nowadays, very few. Whereas in the game first came out, there was a lot more Inklings. It was a consistent character, but it just was so linear that Inkling really kind of peaked super early, and then it's just where do you go from there?
Yeah, people were complaining about Inkling in the beginning, saying it was the best character in the game by far.
Yeah,
best character. Yeah,
exactly. And so it's just is there any other characters that come to mind for you that it's just they're not meta relevant as much as they were before, or it's just they're not as scary as they were before?
Yeah, definitely Inkling, Olimar, but he got nerfed, so that's part of it. Palutena and ZSS, I still think they're both amazing characters even after the nerfs, but the nerfs will have hurt them at least a little bit. Most likely. Pikachu's just the same, Mario's the same, Wolf, He got nerfed a bit, but he's like he like did really well in the beginning. But it seems like players are sort of dropping Wolf a little bit. Yeah, so I'd say he was definitely one of those characters that seems to be like falling off a little bit.
He definitely seems kind of like a counterpick character as well, a counterpick, or just kind of like, I don't know this matchup well, let me pull out my Wolf. Like you see that super consistently. Like I was watching a tournament the other day and Tweak, whose Diddy is absolutely insane. He just went Wolf out of nowhere and he hasn't played his Wolf in forever. Yeah. So I think it's just definitely a solid counterpick character that's going to always have a consistent like combo tree, consistent kill confirms, dummy back air, dummy down smash. Like it's just one of those characters that will stay relevant purely out of the fact of, if you know how to play the game correctly, then you'll be able to play the character. And like he's solid. Like he struggles in some areas, just like recovering and things like that, but his overall neutral will always be consistent against most characters.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think that goes like with Lucina too. And you mentioned Palutena, which I think is interesting because Palu did have some nerfs and you don't see that many Palutenas anymore. Like there are some that like I think of like Midnight and then Nairo now back in the scene. But even he, I think, is shifting over to like Sephiroth, and Palu is kind of like a pocket.
Right.
And I think it just comes down to people are learning these matchups and so it doesn't become that scary anymore. Like it's very linear. Like there's not going to be a trick that a Palutena or Wolf are going to pull out that you'd be like, oh my gosh, how'd they do that? Like, you know, it's just going to be super linear.
Very true. Yeah. And a lot of those old characters from like previous Smash games, like Mario or Yoshi or whatever, that players like will have like experience against those characters from previous games, so they're not going to have too many gimmicks to look out for either. Like players aren't going to be as afraid of those kinds of characters either. But it'll be interesting to see like how the newer characters do in the offline meta. People are saying Min Min's like really, really good. Proto Banham's done like crazy stuff with Min Min in the past, and he like kills people extremely early sometimes with just like dumb combos or whatever.
So do you think that's matchup and experience, or do you think that literally is just the character is that good? Because I played against someone in bracket against their Steve, and they won game 1, but then I won game 2 and they switched to another character. And I talked to them after, and basically what they said to me is, I just played a matchup and experience, both their characters. Like that's what they do. And I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. And I've noticed that like a lot of Steve players that were doing phenomenal when offline first came back are slowly dipping down. And so that's why I'm like, okay, is it matchup and experience, or is the character really that good?
Right, it's definitely possible it could be matchup and experience. I remember when Steve first came out, people were saying like he's top tier, he's amazing. And then like I think Izon made a take, he's like not that very good, and people kind of like ragged on him. Yeah, they were like, no, Steve is so good, Steve is like incredible. But now I feel like people are saying, oh no, he's like bottom of high tier, maybe mid tier.
Right.
Even. So it could definitely be matchup and experience. I feel like the Smash community, they tend to like jump on like a bandwagon real quick. They'll be like, oh, this character is insanely broken. Like they see a Min Min combo from Proto Banham or whatever. Oh, that's so stupid, this is ridiculous or whatever, Min Min should be banned.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I feel like every character, like for the most part the game's pretty balanced, like and matchup and experience, it is a big thing, and I think that people do learn characters pretty well as the game progresses. Yeah,
and I think as someone who mains a gimmicky character like Banjo, like you can realize very quickly, as like from when I first picked up the character till now, like I can tell from when I'm gimmicking someone or when I'm actually just like playing and like beating them, because like you said, like it's just not knowing what does what. But it's like if I'm hitting someone with every single Wonder Wing or doing grenade into Wonder Wing or Wrinkle Blaster into up tilt, it's because they just don't know, or they don't know when to expect it and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know exactly what you mean. Like I'll play Yoshi and I'll nair them at center stage, and then the noob option is to always tech roll in.
Right.
And then I usually just short hop and get a landing up air and then combo into that. Against better players, they'll mix up their techs, and it's a lot harder to deal with.
Yeah, and unless you're playing against like those higher level players, like of course you're going to play against all levels. But like I think really testing those gimmicks and those real options is when it's at higher levels, is when it's like, okay, this is not that good of a character. They're just getting gimmicks on players at lower levels or mid levels, and we've all been there at some point. And it's just like you can see kind of the difference of, will this be meta defining or will this just be a character you know how to deal with? Mm-hmm. Like, and I feel like Steve, when he first came out, everyone was like, this character's broken. No one's like knows how to deal with him. And now it's just, you just need to know the matchup. That's all it is. And like everyone was obsessed, like, okay, you got to break down his walls. You got to get in, when really it's just like, just give him space and wait. There's no reason to try to constantly try to break down the walls. Just let him mine. It's not that scary.
Right, exactly.
And so like with Kazuya coming out, where do you see Kazuya currently?
I think he's really good. His combos are crazy. But I don't know. His neutral might be a little like not amazing. So he seems like the kind of character to get a lot off of one hit, but it's going to be hard to get that hit.
Right. So it's kind of similar to Luigi, where Luigi has to get that one grab, but like literally if you're just out zoning, no matter who you're playing, just like, once again, perfect spacing to get out of that range, then yeah, you are pretty much safe. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another one too, where Kazuya, the cool thing about Kazuya is he has so many inputs, and so I don't think that will, like, for a while it's probably gonna be a matchup and experience thing, but I do think he'll thrive. And the fact that he has so many mix-ups, like it's not super linear. It's like you can do this into that, or option A into option B, option A into option C. Like it's continually changing and will just continually develop over the years, because you can see the characters that they really do just peak when people stop finding things with them. Like it's just like, okay, if you know how they play, you're fine 9 times out of 10. And if you know like what they're fishing for, what their kill confirms are, okay, then the matchup's so much easier no matter who the player is.
Right.
And you can see players at lower levels succeeding at a much higher levels because of this issue of matchup and experience versus relevancy in the current meta and what people are doing. And like that goes now too for like stages. Like stages are once again being talked about, like with hazards, without hazards. Okay, how do we want to change the list? Like what do you think about that?
So I think we should have them all off, all hazards, because we tested having them on at the very beginning of the game, and it seemed like people were like having trouble like picking the rule set or whatever. It just seemed like it made tournaments take a bit longer than they needed to. So as much as I would love to have hazards on, I would prefer to have like a hazards on Smashville and all those extra other stages, but I don't think it would really work out personally.
And it does add variety too, because sometimes the stage list can feel a little stale. I mean, when every single match I go to, I'm like, all right, let's go PS2. All right, what's my counter pick? PS2. Like it's definitely the most comfortable one. I think my biggest worry, because it would be cool to try it out and see what works, but you always see the arguments on the internet. I'd be like, you really want hazards, and it shows someone killing someone at 30 on Smashville of it moving towards the blast zone. It's like, all right, it's very situational, but like, I do think it's a possibility that people then will stop playing the game and start going for cheese on stages instead of actually playing neutral. Do you know what I mean? Like, be like, okay, I'm going to try to get the setup or bait them into it just so I can kill them super early. Like, do you think that would actually happen, or people would still just play the game normally, or they try to take advantage of what the stage can do?
So I think the whole game, people are always just fishing for cheese anyway.
That is a fair point.
Like Wario, he's gonna be looking for up tilts when he has a waft, or ZSS, she wants you to tech out so she can get her nair flip kick off the edge of the stage or whatever. So if we adopt like cheesy stages or whatever, I think like it's gonna be fine. Like people just always just fish for cheese.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point. Like that is true. Like it's just a different kind of cheese.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of game. I don't know. I don't feel like dying at back throw back air by Charizard at 30 on WarioWare. So I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of cheese. But I mean, I see potential in it. And I just feel like, I don't know. It's hard because it's so hard to say, oh, well, if you are relying on cheese, are you really that good of a player? Are you really that capable of beating your opponent? Are you just relying solely on killing your opponent off of crazy fluke neutral interactions?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even I'll sometimes go for like cheese or whatever, because Yoshi on Yoshi's is really good character. Because if someone like you can get like a up tilt to up air combo off of like the top platform, so he basically becomes like ZSS.
Yeah, you killed me with that. I think I died at 60 or 70.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was shocked. I was
insane.
just like, what?
Yeah.
So Yoshi gets a power up on that stage, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. And then you have other characters, like more obvious ones like Mario, who obviously already benefits from cheese on stages like Battlefield and Yoshi's. Which everyone already bans against Mario anyway,
Right.
but yeah,
if you don't know that, ban Battlefield and Yoshi's against Mario. And like with all these changes, what do you think is the biggest change in Ultimate from the way the meta has developed, the neutral has developed, everything has developed from 2018 release date till now?
Let's see. I think a lot of what you said about like camping or whatever, like when the game first came out, people said the game like encouraged like aggressive play, and they were like, oh yeah, it's like Melee all over again, it's so cool. But now people are starting to realize that like camping is really good and really hard to mess with. Characters like Steve are doing well. Zelda I think is kind of good actually.
Yeah, well, cause people always joke like all she can do is turtle. I'm like, well, can you get through that shell? Like,
yeah. right. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Just like going from a more aggressive play style at the beginning, to a more campy one for now. Yeah,
and I definitely think too, just with that, because I agree. That is like I agree 100% with that. Because like the 3 principles of Ultimate, whenever I'm talking to anyone about this, for me is safe spacing, safe moves, and controlling the tempo how you want it. Is making them play your game, whereas before it was kind of like you're just going and playing, and like dash back in this game is broken. Dash back options in this game are so broken because of safe moves, because of the spacing, because of the way like the mechanics work, and because of short hop aerials, just because of the hotkey on it. Like you have Marth, Lucina, all the swordies really benefit from that, just because it hits at the perfect distance for their aerials and they can drift back with them. But it's like, I remember listening to Tweak say, like, he was just like, when they first watched the game, they first played at E3, they're like, wow, these dash-in options are awesome. Dash-in is so great. It's going to be really fast. It's going to be like Melee. You have wave landing, all this stuff. And so like, it's like you said, like people are like, it's going to be Melee. It's going to be great. And then they stopped and they're like, wait, if dash-in is good, dash back is going to be even better. Which you see a lot of characters now doing that. Literally, it's just like it comes down to who's going to do something unsafe first. And once they do that unsafe thing, how will you punish accordingly? Because the neutral interaction now, you see it all the time. I play with someone all the time who does main Inkling, surprising enough. He does main Inkling. But literally, his entire neutral game is just waiting for me to whiff anything, and then he goes in with a grab, or goes in with a dash tech, or goes in with something else. And like that's the whole game plan. Whereas I played him a year and a half ago, and he was going in constantly on me, trying to outframe data me, which makes sense. Inkling versus Banjo, and so like that's how it used to be: is you outframe data your opponent, you know what beats this. But now it's definitely more of it's like rock paper scissors, like what's going to beat what, back and forth.
Yeah, right. And then that's a huge part of the game. It's just like trying to find little openings and just get as much as you can out of it. And I feel like that's how it is for most characters, to be honest. Like they're at 0, they wait for their opponent to make a mistake and then deal 40. That's like pretty much most characters' game plan, I feel like. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and it's funny because you say like deal 40. I remember at the beginning too of Ultimate, people were just like, oh, this character has a combo that does 40 to 60%. And I'm like, that's most characters in Ultimate. Like if you don't drop your combo, that's most characters in Ultimate. I guarantee like with almost every character, you could find some combo that does at least 30 to 40.
Right.
And that's kind of this thing, because in like this game is like it's about dealing damage, and I feel like people live a little longer in this game than others, whereas because I remember like Diddy up throw up air and smash 4 before like the nerfs was like they die at 60.
Yeah,
like,
it was
super early. But now this game literally like you have people living 150 really easy. But yeah, I definitely think that it's just so interesting. Like the way it has changed, the way it has developed, and I feel like it's just going to keep going that way. I don't see any reason it wouldn't. But with it changing, what characters do you feel are relevant now that weren't relevant before?
So we can't say for sure yet because we don't have like perfect offline results completely. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens. So I think Palu and ZSS are going to continue to be good even after the nerfs. They just may have to work a little bit harder.
They might have to be a little more honest.
yeah, exactly. Joker, Leo's going to destroy with him. No questions there. Esam with Pikachu as well. Min Min, I think, is going to be definitely a relevant character, at the very least as a counter pick. Proto Banham's doing amazing with her. It seems to Buzz has also picked her up and is also doing pretty well with her. And people are saying Pyra and Mithra are amazing too. They're like, I think they're pretty good. Yeah.
I just see them as Sheik with the disjoint, and then when needed, you have the power of Ganon to kill. It's having that ability to swap between that, because it's not like Pokemon Trainer, just because the moves are all the same, just different speeds, different power. But yeah, like they are a solid character, and like Spargo's done really well with them. I think on an offline event, he's done really well with them.
Right, yeah. Definitely. And then, we'll probably see a lot more Cloud from Spargo, because he did amazing offline. He was like clearly, I don't know if he was ranked number one. There was like an online ranking, and I think he might have been ranked number one.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, and he shot up as a player. Like he's a true prodigy, 100%. And so we'll probably definitely see him a lot more, and he's doing well offline too. He's winning a lot of SoCal locals right now over like some really good players like Elegant and Charlie. So we'll definitely be seeing his Cloud a lot more, so that'll be pretty cool. And then I don't expect there to be a lot of Kazuya players. He's kind of like a like obscure kind of character. Like,
like you're gonna have the people that already play fighting game characters playing him purely out of the fact they're used to doing inputs. Because I feel like very rarely are you gonna find someone that's like, I'm gonna learn all these inputs for this character if they play like Mario. Like that's just not their field. You're gonna have Riddles, and maybe a couple other guys, but those are probably the ones that'll stick with it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and are there any characters that you would say before like COVID weren't relevant but have become more relevant? Just like, I know it's COVID and it's hard, but it's like the one that comes to mind just because of buffs and just because of the development is Captain Falcon.
Oh yeah.
Just because like Fatality has been doing super well. Before, like he struggled constantly. Like he felt like he could never do anything, and he had labbed at that character constantly, just a little lab rat. And now you see he got second in France to Gluttony, and then he wins the locals. He's beating Cola. He did really well at Infinity Con until he ran into Myron, and Myron ran over him. But I feel like that character has improved so much, and Nintendo has finally got it of what he needs to be good. So I definitely think he is much more relevant now. Like, I'm not saying there's going to be a lot more Falcons, but I definitely think that's a character where you do have to know the matchup now. Like it can't just be like, oh, it's a Captain Falcon. Like you have to understand what he wants.
Definitely. I mean, I was one of those, like, I hated those Falcon complainers on like the early days of Smash Ultimate.
Oh my gosh.
They were so annoying.
Oh my gosh.
But it seems it worked.
Yeah. I was like, can I call Nintendo right quick? Like,
seriously. He seems like he's quite good now. In fact, Fatality's an amazing player, and he deserves to be doing well.
Right.
And I'm glad Falcon got buffed because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you watched, because like I said, for the longest time he's been trying to make him work. I know he tried other characters, like he tried Mario. He tried playing Falcon on a stick box. Like he tried everything he could, and it just shows like game balance is super important. With game balance, actually, like thinking about like there's so many, I think that's a big part of it too about relevancy, is just like how characters actually play. Because I mean, if you're a good player, you can make a character decent no matter how bad they are. Like you look at people like Peanut, where he's a pretty good player and he makes Little Mac look really good. But I think that really does affect the way like people talk about, okay, if they're relevant, if they're going to be good, if they're worth playing still, or you should drop them. Like I think of Wario, because people will say he got gutted, and he kind of did. Like they took out some of his main like setup tools, but like Gluttony still won. He still won this huge tournament. But it does really matter because it will show how much better a character can be when they just have that little push, or how much worse they can be with like taking away some of their stuff.
Right.
And I think that happened, like you mentioned, like Palu and ZSS with their nerfs, like I think they increased the end lag on Palu's dash attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also, what was the other? They increased end lag on forward air or
forward air.
Yeah. And like those two were huge. Like that's really important because Palu used to just dash attack on your shield for free unless you reacted super quickly.
Yeah, and then forward air was extremely safe. I think it was -3.
Something like that,
sure.
yeah.
Now I think it's -5. So it's definitely not as free to just throw out anymore.
Right, and if you like you don't understand frame data like super well, it's just meaning -5 and -3. It's just like you have to have a move that comes out frame 3 or frame 5 to be able to punish these things. And a lot of characters do have something that's frame 5 or less. Like that's not super uncommon for people. And so it's like you are able to punish that better. And I think of too, like Banjo recently got buffed out of nowhere. I was super happy about that. And that made a huge difference for him. Like you're seeing a lot of people actually, like a lot of Banjo players do better with him, be more consistent. And you look at the buffs, which are increased knockback on up tilt, increased knockback on forward smash, and adjusted launch angle and back air. And you look at that and you're like, does that really matter? And I think a lot of people do that. They're like, does that buff or nerf really matter?
Yeah.
But in his case, it did matter because now like Banjo struggles to rack up damage. That's just like, that's one of his biggest weaknesses. Like a true bread and butter combo will do like 25 to 30%. Like that's the best he can do without burning a Wonder Wing. You burn a Wonder Wing, yeah, you can do like 40, but you don't want to burn it just in a regular combo, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like now he kills earlier with forward smash. He kills earlier with the up tilt. Back air will kill earlier as well. And so I think like that definitely is a big factor of increasing relevancy in the game and just in the game moving forward. As I think like too, like you said, like a lot of the DLC characters, like a lot of them are really solid. A lot of them could make waves. So and I think we haven't mentioned Sephiroth. Where do you think Sephiroth's gonna do?
I think Sephiroth is great. He has an amazing sword for just walling people out. It's so hard to get in against him if the Sephiroth knows what they're doing. The side B is great for pressure too. He can break shields. He's so good. He's honestly amazing, but he does have that lightweight. So I think he's a really cool glass cannon character. And I'm excited to see how he does. He's fun to watch too.
Yeah, he has really good movement. I think that's another big thing about Ultimate is just being able to move. If your character is really slow, has bad movement and bad airspeed, they're going to struggle. But it's like when you have characters like Sephiroth, where it's like when he gets one wing and he has another jump, which is a full like hop. It's not like a little like putter. Like it's not like Jigglypuff or Kirby or Banjos or DDD with those multiple jumps, where it's just like a tiny little bit. Like it's a full on jump, which gives that crazy mobility. And so his movement is insane. It's super fun to watch. And like, once again, that's one of those characters where it's not super linear. You can be ridiculously creative with his combos and what you do with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And he even has like some cheese with like up B kills off like the side of the stage or whatever. Suicide up B kills. So it'll be really cool to see him. Yeah. And then I think Tweak and Nairo, they're the two top players that I know who are playing him. I don't know if there's anyone else.
I know Ned is playing him. Like I know he didn't drop PT, but I don't know if he's like trying to main Sephiroth or co-main or what he's doing. But I definitely agree with you, Tweak and Nairo. I'm struggling with Tweak right now with his characters just because like he is playing Diddy and having crazy success with Diddy. But like, is there a matchup like you would think that he would go Sephiroth instead of Diddy? Like maybe to outrange, but Diddy has banana and that's super good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, probably in like those matchups where it's like clear that a ton of range would really benefit you, like maybe against like Mario or like Yoshi or just someone who can't really do much about it. I'd say Sephiroth might be a better choice, but then again, that's Tweak, you know. He's
Tweak.
Amazing, and his choices are obviously going to be better than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's tweaked for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, I feel like Sephiroth would be a solid counter pick too, just because it's the play styles, like they're pretty different. And so being able to switch on the fly how you approach it, like, can be super difficult because Sephiroth, like, unless your character has a low crouch or you're quick with your shield, you can just gonna get walled out with forward airs and the side B snaps and that just constantly. Like, unless you can, because most characters, like I know Banjo can, if you crouch, you actually won't get hit by the snaps, and they have to perfectly space their forward air to hit. And so it's just, I think that transition and that swap would be, I think that'd be a good combination of characters. Like, I feel like that would cover all matchups without it feeling impossible.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's kind of why you play character 2, or like you have secondaries or co-mains, things like that, is so that no matchup feels impossible. Like, it's like, okay, it's not like I don't know what to do against this character. Like, once again, like, matchup and experience. Like, it's just like, okay, I don't know how to play this character. Tweak goes Wolf. Like, he goes Wolf, and that's how he deals with it.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's constantly developing. Another character that I think is going that once again has not fallen out of relevancy, but you don't see as much, is Pokemon Trainer. And I don't think Pokemon Trainer hasn't gone through any crazy nerfs or anything like that, right? That I can think of, but I just feel like so many people don't play Pokemon Trainer anymore, and I don't know why. Like, have you noticed that? Like, I've noticed a lot of, like, I don't see as many PTs as I used to. Like even local scene, even like in worldwide scene, like, I don't see him as much.
Yeah, so they did nerf Ivysaur's Dare a little bit. They made it so, like, I think the sweet spot's like smaller or something.
As if that matters.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, it still is going to destroy you.
It's huge.
And there were some PTs who were complaining about it. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't know. So seems like he just kind of like plays a bunch of weird characters. I don't know what his thought process is for what makes him decide which character to play. And it seems like a lot of people just like tend to play the characters that like top players are playing. They tend to get kind of popular. And PT, when Tweak was playing him, I felt like there was a lot of hype surrounding Pokemon Trainer, and everyone was trying to pick him up or whatever.
And you also had like people like Leffen. Leffen was playing Pokemon Trainer.
Yeah, definitely. But now, like, I don't know. It seems like online there were no PTs whatsoever. Yeah, offline there aren't too many anymore. There's still Pandarian. I'm pretty sure he still plays PT. But
yeah, I think he does. I don't know who he would have dropped PT for. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, once again, like, the character's still great. Like, there's still a top tier character, like, or high tier, no matter what you want to debate. But like, there's still a great character, and I don't know why people would drop him. Besides, like, I know someone that mains them right now that he just gets bored. Like, he just gets bored with them. Like, and I'm like, yeah, winning really does get boring, doesn't it? So
that's honestly fair. I understand that. It's kind of like Pikachu. Pikachu's like,
right,
you don't like commit to anything.
Well, and that's I think that's another great character is Pikachu, because people always say, if Pikachu's that good, why does no one play him but Esam? Because you don't see, like, I think Shiny Mark, I think that's their tag. I think they play Pikachu. Once I can't think of any relevant Pikachus.
Yeah. We had a Pikachu player in our scene in Utah. His name was I'm Tendo, but he dropped Pikachu for Fox. And like, I was talking to Krieg about it, and he said that, like, oh yeah, he probably just did it because it's like really just so boring to play Pikachu, as opposed to Fox, who's like a pretty cool character,
right? And
like lots of stuff with him.
Fox, you can get creative, and like Pikachu, you can come up with creative combos, but still, it's a very linear combo tree. Like, it's very linear. Like, back air is super safe, super scary. You have like the up air strings. You have the nair loops. Like, it is what it is. And I think too, Pikachu's another one of those characters where it's just like the like ceiling for the character can be so high, but it also can be so low. Like, you give it to a player that, like, at a mid-level player, and they can do decently well, not knowing how to do any of the Pikachu stuff.
Yeah.
Then you have Esam, where he's practicing Rob gyro combos with Pikachu for whatever reason, and then he does it in bracket, and you're like, what the freak? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's insane. I think, Esam's best tournament was obviously Glitch, the one he won. Yeah. And like, I think that's when he really just showed the power of Pikachu. Like, he executed his combos so well at that tournament. It was crazy. And
I remember watching that one live.
Mm-hmm.
That was a super good tournament because he came. Was he in lose? No, he's on winners. Wasn't
he was in winners, and he like destroyed Light. It like wasn't even close.
That's
from
right.
What I remember.
Yeah,
it was cool because he like showed that he was one of the few successful like lab rats, I'd say. Like most top players, I feel like they rely mostly on like their understanding of neutral and advantage state and like things like that. But Esam, his neutral isn't bad. Like it's still obviously amazing, better than mine for sure. But he's also like a big lab rat. He spends lots of time grinding like combos and stuff. But it's really cool it's cool to see him like succeed because he like not only is his neutral good, but his combos are also amazing. So if he's like one of the few players to like combine the two and like really succeed. I think that's pretty cool.
No, Esam is a lot of fun to watch. Okay, then we can end on this note of just what players do you have right now being like at the top moving forward in this new era? Wi-Fi is not over, but like locals are back, majors are back. Who will be at the top?
Okay, so I think the amazing players from offline, they're going to come back simply because their like understanding of the game is so advanced and amazing. I think they're going to have no problem shooting back to like the top of the PGR or whatever, like all those classic players. If Nairo does come back to offline, I think he's going to succeed very much. It'll be really cool to see him. He's always been one of the most fun players to watch, I'd say.
Yeah.
In terms of like, there were a lot of players that like got their name out there more like because of online. Like you have players like Aaron and Spargo, Cola, Sonics, all these players that like did really well online that people know more. And so I think a lot of them are going to start succeeding offline too. Particularly like Spargo, because he's already done some great stuff offline, and Aaron's also done well offline too. He did really well at that one offline tournament, and so yeah, I think for the most part we're gonna still see most of the same players, and then probably a lot of the Wi-Fi warriors. Maybe not all of them. Maybe some of them were a little like carried from like online strategies or whatever, but definitely at least a few. I think they're gonna start doing well offline.
At least make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
Because if anything, COVID definitely gave people confidence to say, hey, I can do this. Like, I'm good at this game. So, and then you go to offline, you're like, wow, I suck at this game.
Yeah. A lot different.
Awesome. Thank you, Banana Boy. Go ahead, plug yourself, say what you got going on. What does the future hold for your channel?
Subscribe to my channel, Banana Boy SSB. My upload schedule isn't very consistent right now, but I'll make sure to keep uploading. I'm back on YouTube. I was focusing on school for a bit, but I'll be back now. My new video, well, whenever this goes up, but it'll probably be up by then. And yeah, hope to see you guys on my channel. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. Until next time.